So, Susie, thank you for coming along to have a session about values. What we're going to do is we'll have half an hour or so and help you look at the values that you've worked out and just see how that they're playing out and how you're using them practically in your life. So I know you've done a bit of work because we talked about this, didn't we? And you've been gathering your words from yourself and from other people. But before we get into that, share a moment about an outcome. So by talking about your values, what would you like to achieve in this next half hour or so?
Well, I suppose actually I hadn't realised we were going to talk about whether the things I think are my values are playing into my life. That'd be quite interesting. I think to get real clarity on values, it gives you a very concrete framework to apply to all the things you're doing in your life to see if they're fitting in, and probably be able to identify what is jarring and get rid. So to have real crystal clear clarity on certainly where I am now in terms of what values are the key values that drive my behavior.
Okay, so crystal clear, concrete, and what's driving you. Okay, and if we get to that place, what impact would you like to take out of the coaching session?
What impact do I want to take out of it? I think even though I've done work on values, I think it's really good to update and to be checking with everything that you're doing in terms of, is that still relevant? So to take out of it, I suppose a reassessing, a re-identifying of what I'm about and taking that forward.
And if you get that, how much energy do you think you might have for maybe making changes, whatever emerges from our time together?
I think really big. I think whenever I've done values work, it's and not just for me but for everyone else that I've worked with, it's really affirming, and it's a real impetus to go, right, let's have a look around and feel joyful about the things that are fitting in, and other things that aren't, wonder why one's doing it, and generally work towards getting rid of it, changing it.
Okay, thank you for that. It's a really helpful starting point. So, I mean, you mentioned you've done values work quite a lot before. So, how's it benefited you in the past?
I think it's sometimes been surprising about things that I'm doing that I don't realise are often not entirely fitting with values, but it's more that I've misidentified the value behind it. It's only when you cross-reference it with other experiences and go, oh, okay, it makes it clearer why that's so important, that thing that I'm doing, or the thing that's missing.
Yes.
So yeah, that's why I also think it's good to come back and revisit it, because life changes, you know. And I've never worked on values with anybody and had someone go, well, that wasn't important. You know, there's always surprises and there's always joy.
So is that what you're hoping for? Surprises and joy in the next 25 minutes? Okay.
Always, Charlie. Every experience, surprises and joy.
Fab. Okay, so why don't we spend a bit of time now looking at the values, words and themes that have emerged, and just share a little bit about how have you done the work? So what have you done to come up with the list and the information?
Okay, so I mean I literally sort of start off by I think I took a stimulus from your list and then started to add words on that meant something to me. And that's another thing with values, is that I think the first time I did it, it's like, what's a value? What can we count as a value? And I kind of think, I mean, I don't know what the concrete term would be in terms of but it's anything that describes why you do stuff. And even if it's to be honest, I think even if you've got a set of words, you can put that down and then find a better word. So it's kind of getting creative with your vocab. So I did that, and I have looked at the things that are important to me, and tried to distill why. And then I've also looked at times when I was happy, times what I felt most kind of content and what that was giving me, and use those as material to draw from.
And your own stuff, or have you drawn from other people as well? Have you taken stuff from other people?
No, it's missing my own stuff. What other stuff from other people would I have
I don't know. Sometimes people have either words rattling around in their brains because they've heard people have said things. Oh, you're really X or you're really Y. And sometimes people will go out and deliberately go and ask people, you know, what do you think of me? Do the
No, I did that. I did
the
actually.
little sort of personal 360 thing.
That was you kind of got me to do that a while ago, and I did. I got my dad when he was alive. So I've got a couple of friends. I've got my husband and my brother to feed into words that, you know, giving me some words that describe me, and that was quite illuminating. It's very nice as well. I'd recommend it to anyone.
Anyone who's got a lovely dad and a brother and a husband.
Yeah, tell them to be lovely. No nasty words. But yeah, and that was really interesting. To some of it, I kind of thought, okay, I would have possibly thought that, and other things I wouldn't have thought that at all, particularly from that person, you know.
Well, let's have a look at those in a moment. But before we do, the description you just said, you didn't necessarily have a definition. So that one you just came up with, which is a way of describing everything that you do that's important to you. Is that a good enough working description for you?
Yeah, that suits me. Happy with that.
Perfect. Let's go with that. So we've set up a little jolly Jamboard here. And what I suggest we do is, for this first bit, you shout out some of these keywords. I'll put them all up on the Jamboard, and then you can, then we can talk about what we see and what we pick up. So I'll do a bit of writing as you share. So do you want to just start shouting out what are some of the words that emerged?
Words that came up. Okay. Flexible, dynamic.
I'm going to do one at a time, one person. It says flexible, dynamic, yeah.
Robust. Humility.
Yeah.
Honest. Accountable. How many do you want?
As many as you like. Many as are useful.
Intuitive. Compassionate. Heartfelt. Real. Vibrant or vibrancy. Sorry, 3-week-old cold, not COVID. Candid. Impartial. Humble. That sounds really trite, doesn't it? But courage. Courageous. I mean, these are situation specific. If I'm not saying I'm always courageous, occasionally. Authentic came up, but you know, I don't even want that down there. I'm so bored with the word authentic. It's like, I mean, you know, it's a good word when it's not used by the whole world.
But inauthentic, right?
Philanthropic. I mean, there's loads. I could go on, Charlie.
Oh, check you in your list. Anything you haven't said that?
Energized.
Yeah.
Unshockable. Let's have a look. So sort of vivacious and, I mean, animated. But you wish you'd never said you'd be a typist.
Well, if there's any more that you think, this one needs to come up.
Inclusive.
And inclusive.
I don't know. We can go with that.
Now, can you see the list on your screen there?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So my suggestion is, firstly, look at those 20 that we put up there and decide. Well, firstly, your first snapshot. When you see that, what do you notice about those words?
Notice is the one that's very small on the third row down, the second one underneath. I think that says compassionate.
Yeah, that's annoying, isn't it?
My eyesight. What do I notice?
Yeah, just what you're noticing from all of those.
Well, immediately I'm sort of drawn towards the energy stuff, like the vibrancy, the energized, the vivacious, animated. I quite like that.
Should I put them together in a little group? Should I?
Yeah,
so vibrant, energized, animated. Vivacious, animated. Okay, cool.
And
got a little group there.
yeah, okay. And there are things that I definitely think I am. It sounds really boring, but I think I am accountable and for the most part honest. Where's that? Humility sounds really dull, doesn't it? But I think, does that go with that?
Does that go?
Well, that goes with humble, actually, doesn't it? Humility and humble.
I suppose it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, there you go.
That the worthy corner. Okay.
I suppose heartfelt and real go together. I would have said with. Oh, dynamic goes down with vibrant, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. I
would say. Yeah. Probably heartfelt, real, candid probably goes with real, doesn't it? I would have thought open. Let's have a look at philanthropic is probably with humility and humble, I would have thought.
The giving bit, yeah.
Robust maybe with courage and unshockable. Inclusive, impartial, yeah, intuitive, and compassionate. I mean, there was more around the compassionate front, so there's a little section there, but so I think that's actually quite big.
Compassionate, and then put plus. There, I don't mind. I've just put plus for
plus, yeah,
and similar, yeah.
Just realised there's chatty down there as well. I'm not going to put that in. That's not funny. Inclusive, impartial, intuitive, flexible. Maybe intuitive goes with dynamism a bit as well.
Yes, trusting yourself, isn't it? Backing your instincts, all that.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Flexible probably goes with courage and because it is about going with things and going with your gut a lot of the time. So maybe there's a little honest, inclusive, impartial. That's more about being human. Well, then again, philanthropic. Oh dear. No, then I think we've got to probably put inclusive with philanthropic, haven't we?
Yeah.
And impartial.
This is more art than science, right? So look, you've got here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, half a dozen subcategories. If you take those as groupings, how happy are you that you and others have come up with those 6, I suppose, overarching areas?
Actually, funny enough, that hasn't included quite a lot of what my friends and family put about me, but I think it's sort of a roundabout. Just thinking, so the things that came up for my friend are generous, honest, empathic, that's their focused, dedicated, lively, energetic, enthusiastic. Actually, yeah, it is. Yeah, I think we're okay with that then.
Okay. So looking at this, how near do you, or how happy are you, I suppose, with the fact that these are the ways that you and others see you, more or less?
Yeah, I'm just like, yes. Is there anything else I've missed out? No, I mean, I'm pretty happy. I'm saying yes. It's always kind of strange to see a whole lot of lovely things written about yourself, because it's like that feels. That's it's hard to get away from the bigging oneself up, but we are watching an exercise. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. I think there's something around working styles. Is that I was about to say diligent. Actually, sometimes I can be a really big picture. Let's stick with that then. I'll get into negatives.
Okay. So let me stop sharing this screen now, because you can carry on seeing it and I can see it as well. And let's start talking now about you and where you're living those values. You wanted to explore where you're living them, and also maybe where there might be a gap. So when you see those values, if you take your week or your month or your year or your relationships, how strong do you think you are more or less mostly living those values?
I think actually my relationships put quite a lot of effort in. So I think that's probably where a lot of my time goes. What I realise I haven't put up there, and I'm trying to address more, is that, and maybe that's because I don't see myself as that, creativity. And I realise that's quite important. Actually, I should have probably put that up there. But I think with the kind of compassion and the resilience and the accountability, that's quite strong in all my relationships. Yeah. It's mainly, I think it's mainly the work stuff that all gets a bit lost in. Yeah.
Well, we can explore that in a moment, but so stick with the strengths for the moment. What benefits are you seeing from knowing that you've got a lot of these values playing out in your relationships?
Well, I think it's really crucial for long-term relationships to remain true in terms of, you know, particularly the accountability thing. I think is really important in that. You know, I think honesty is really key. So I for me, it's around an forever changing relationships as well. You know, with kids growing up and stuff, they change, and you're also molding them into the person that you are hoping they'll be, as well as dealing with their own personality. So it's really important that one models that and nurtures it. And so they're really important. And and as I said, I think that's where all my energy goes, into the people around me. I'm just trying to think, is there anyone? Probably, if anything, there are sometimes with friends, I think, I haven't been in touch for a while, or you might have 4 or 5 friends going through a difficult time. Where do you put your energy?
Okay. And what do you notice about yourself when you know you've got that, when you've got people out there who you can't be as giving as you want to?
I probably do that thing of not like la 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 la, but you know, when the family when the family are there, and particularly with so much email and text and WhatsApp, and you go, oh shit, you know, they're probably, I don't go off grid, but I'm not the best IT at the best of times. So I probably become less available just because of spreading myself a bit too thin, and then feel guilty about it. And that doesn't feed it. And then, yes, interestingly, then you're getting further and further away from your values. But you're trying to feed other values, you know, you're trying to be there for, generally it's if the family are needing you. So you're I'm trying to be there for the people that need me with the time I've got.
So is there a sense then of you get pulled in 2 different directions, and actually you're 2 different, the values get pulled in 2 different directions if you can't be there for them and be there for, you know, being the nurturing person in the family?
Or it's almost like you can fulfill one value with maybe one set of people, but not with everybody. So when I'm looking to I'm looking at my values over here. Actually, interestingly, I've got one friend who's extremely honest, and I like it in terms of she kind of sets an example about being really honest with herself about where she's at and what she can do and what she can't. And sometimes that'll mean she lets you down, you know, but actually she's a really low maintenance friend in terms of manages her expectations of you and me of her, and therefore it means our relationship is really easy. And I know with her, I could easily just say, I've just been over, you know, I've just had too much on. She's like, it's fine. Yes. And that I try and be honest with people around that as much as I can. It's probably with the slightly higher maintenance friends that becomes problematic.
A bit more about
that. I suppose my really, really close friends, and they're pretty all long term, there's an honesty about where you're up to and what you can do. And that makes it so much easier, because then you can kind of live your values and be real. There are other friends who will ask stuff and slightly erring on the side of unreasonable in terms of time, and that gets really hard to manage that. And I'm just trying to think if so that pushes me into feeling uncomfortable, because it's finding the balance of being honest and being true to what's going on and managing that relationship.
Yes.
And probably sometimes, rather than addressing things that you think is fairly obvious. So for example, I have a friend who asks me all the time, whenever she gets a job, she'll ask me to go through the job thing with her and basically do the job interview, and I've got support. It's an audition, and I've got support of going, I would find that hard enough myself, but to do yours all the time when you haven't put the work in, and I've got to have an honest conversation with her, but I know I'm slightly avoiding it. So that's one friend, and that's an example of, I suppose, high maintenance, where you go, okay, you know, you're not reading the signs, so I'm actually, rather than having a conversation, I'm slightly ducking away.
But so if you look at your values, if we look at this through a values lens, which of those great positive values words that you've got down there, which one do you think is being overplayed by avoiding having that conversation?
Overplayed?
Yeah,
as in you do too much of it, or?
Yeah, you're doing too much of it to your own suffering. You're saying that you haven't got the time, but you're avoiding the conversation.
Oh gosh. That's probably something along the lines of, I think, what's the opposite of kind of, what's the opposite of, that's a really interesting question. Am I overplaying it? If I'm avoiding something, what am I playing up? I don't know, Charlie.
Is it, well, is that a walk the dog question? Is that a takeaway and think about, reflect question?
I think there's something around their frame of reference is so different, and it might be even with this particular friend I'm thinking of, there's a cultural difference as well with her background and what's expected of people. There's quite a lot of expectation of the people in her life of doing, rather than actually having this slightly easier maneuvering like I have with this other friend, where if it's not right, you can be honest about it and they won't take offense and you're fine with it, because they know you're not trying to be offensive, it's just you haven't got the time. Whereas this other friend will kind of see that, why am I not giving my time? And so I suppose it's around preservation. I'm preserving what's good rather than actually tweaking it at the risk of things going sour. But I don't know what that means. I'm overplaying. So yeah, maybe that is a thought. Think about that.
Okay. Well, you live on the river, so you can feed the ducks and reflect on that over the weekend. And the values word that I wanted to ask you about is compassion. In that context, and I'm wondering about compassion for her, but also compassion for yourself in that context.
Yeah, I'm probably putting myself forward actually, and I do that by kind of going, rather than I probably would have done it before, I won't now. So it's compassion for my family as well. This is my time with the family, and I need to, this is what I've said I'll do with them. I'm not going to dilute that. So there probably is a positive, yes, there is definitely a positive intent, which is about giving time to the people who need it and prioritizing that, and that person not being as much of a priority.
And how does that feel when you say that, giving time to the people who need it at each time and working at the priority?
It makes me know I'm on the right path because I'm doing it, and I know I'm doing it for that. What I'm slightly disappointed in I'm trying to find a way is, I know there's certain behaviors happening from other relationships that I need to address, and I haven't found the way with that, and that makes me feel dishonest. Actually makes me feel I'm going against my honesty principle, because I would prefer I could be honest and go, right, it's just how to be honest whilst showing compassion. So yeah, that's true. Haven't found the way to be compassionate about it, because actually I'm just angry.
So how can I be honest when showing compassion is a question you're asking yourself.
Well, actually, how can I be compassionate when showing on it, when being honest? It's that sort of, the honesty is the is it? I was going to say honesty is the key thing here, but actually so is compassion. So 50-50, you're right. Okay.
Yeah. And where are you at with that at the moment?
Well, I do that with my kids quite solidly, actually. I think if there's a hard message, I might even though I go in there a bit strong, I generally pull it back and go, listen, try and go and apologize when I think I've gone in too strong. But it's all, you know, it's for their own good. It's actually for our relationship. This needs to change. So why am I not doing it with this particular friend? I haven't, because I haven't. I'm making the assumption that she'll get really offended.
Okay.
I need to get over that. Yeah. So where does that feed into my values? I suppose I'm overplaying. Actually, I think I'm overplaying the compassion.
Okay.
As in, I'm worried about her feelings too much, and I'm just pull back from that.
Yeah.
Maybe something along those lines. Yeah. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like there's things happening there, some learning going on for you.
Yeah, it's how to get. I mean, the trouble is, as you get older in life, I've met a lot of friends who've gone, right, I'm going to be honest now, and they are more honest in their relationships, but they can be quite like, okay, there's honest and there's honest. Not so much with me, but I've seen it with other people. So it's a sort of that. I do. It's still really important to frame things in a way that's palatable to your audience, and that's always I think that's should always be important.
Yeah. And how confident are you that you're not going to cross the line of going to the honest, that sort of hidden adjective of brutal?
I think I'm fairly confident, because it's really key to the way it's what the more of the problem is. If I don't, I won't do the message because I'll be too worried about that. But actually, I don't think I'll be brutally honest to the point of turning them off, because that's not really my style. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So early on in the conversation, you did mention, you talked about, we're sticking with the positives, and you talked about potentially it not playing out well in the workplace. Should we spend a couple of minutes on that before we bring this to a close? I mean, are there any other areas where you see it not playing out so well in your professional life?
No, I think that what I mean by not following all my or knowing how to put the values into the workplace is generally there's I'm an associate, like with a lot of companies. There can be a really lovely team working on something. Do I fully buy into the company that I'm working for? And that's often where I think, does it, and I've had that for ages. And I think there's a bravery factor. I'm probably what I'm not. My value that's being compromised is the courage, which I think I definitely have had courage in other parts of my life. But that's being sat on with certain work. But it's partly because it does feed other things. Yeah. So it's how to not throw out the baby with the bathwater.
And if you felt the courage, what do you think that might bring you in those circumstances?
I think I've got to think more on some things that seem really scary at work. If I was to do more, less delivery of just other people's stuff and more, I've been thinking this for a while, more devising. And that's where I think the creativity bit's got to come in, because I've been creative in my own life, really bringing in creative stuff in the domestic arena much more. And I realise how important it is, because it's about recognising what's you in your creativity. And I think I could do more of that in work.
Yes.
I just haven't yet found exactly how.
Yes. So are you saying that then doing too much associate work, gets in the way of being able to spread your
I'm not
wings?
doing anywhere near as much now, actually, so I can't, that's just something I've got to be mindful of. And actually the people I'm working with tend to be lovely. It's more that, okay, if you were, I think I need to show a bit more courage in giving it my attention. Actually, it's quite easy to go, sometimes that's, you know, I've got other things going on and I won't fully go, what is it I really want to do? And I don't actually, you know, I'm saying that and going, I'll be like, no, that's not true. Was it courage and just accepting? For the most part, I'm very happy, as I say, and for the most part, that's great. But I don't think I haven't. I think I need to be a bit more courageous and really realizing what it gives me. When work's really good, actually, and I'm doing something really involved, I come away and feel it's nurtured something in me.
Yeah.
But you can sometimes just put it down to taking the jobs that don't do that as much, and maybe that's what I've got to be looking out for. I want more stuff that probably puts me on the spot and makes me feel uncomfortable, but afterwards is a real growth. I realise it's been a real growth time.
And are you up for that whole courage, stretch, challenge yourself type of business?
Yeah, and often they come from different directions. It comes from left field. You know, you'll get a job and just kind of take it on and then go, and that's when you grow. So it's maybe I need to, or maybe that's a crap word. Do I or don't I? I need to recognise that, yeah, I can control that a bit more. Yeah.
You want to?
Well, this is the point. I think that's actually something I need to think about. How much do I want that? I want to feel like I'm growing. That's a great feeling. But work is often associated with getting up and sort of, I think I've got to change my association with work. That's what I've got to do. And that will increase the want to go. It's kind of more of the boundaries blur between work and what I love doing.
Yeah.
So yes, I do want to.
Okay, thank you.
Sense.
So we've been talking about this for about half an hour, Suze, and you've left yourself a couple of questions as takeaway questions. The one about the compassion, honesty thing, and then this other question now that's just come up about the relationship with work and the stretch and the courage. Those are thinking questions. But let's go back to the beginning. You said you wanted to come away with this with a reaffirming of your values, and then to be able to check out how they're working for you in your life. So what's been the learning for you? It's been the principal learning.
I think it's definitely two. I think the question around what are you doing too much of, or whatever, that's not letting the other values come through. That's a really interesting point. I haven't really thought, and I guess it's in line with positive intent, isn't it? So I need to do more thinking on that, because that really might inform how I go about certain situations. And I think I've been stuck. I think the courage may not be the courage to do take on more work, because I think I'll do that. I think the courage is more about facing up to what do I want, and if the one immediately when you ask do you want it is not there, it's kind of getting away from, does that mean I'm lazy? What does that mean? So I think there's further questions on that to go, what is that tied in with? Good feeding the duck fodder. So definitely, I mean, I think that's stuff that I'm not going to get in an hour, but I think it's great to go, whoa, yeah, that's to be continued.
So what steps are you going to take then, Suze, to carry on doing this thinking to deepen your awareness?
I think I need to, well, I would certainly re-listen to this, and I think one thing is to give time to these two questions. It's easy to go, oh yeah, we'll think on that. Actually diary it in and go, that's the day I have to almost brainstorm. Yes. Maybe not a day, more than one day, but build that into the work that I am doing, going, these two, I think they're really strong questions for me. What am I doing that's too much of, that's stopping other stuff? And what is this one thing about? Almost have them up there as banners on my worktop. and put it down in writing, do some actual follow-up work on this. With the idea to sorting out this particular, I think that's one thing, 2-step process, have a really good think about it, but also sort out this situation with this friend.
Yes.
If that conversation took place, that'd be quite a big one, because it would have ramifications for other things in my life. And I think this courage in the question of want is a big one.
Yeah.
So I need to break that down. We'll break that down.
So is that commitment, what you're saying, that the diary, the make sure it happens?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm seeing this friend, in about a week or so. So that is a conversation, and thinking about how to frame that. Yeah, I will commit.
And what are you looking forward to about this date with yourself, this appointment to do this deep thinking?
I think when you it's going through that sludgy, difficult time to get to a point where you go, wow, I'm looking forward to literally a stone being sort of moved, and therefore then having a bit more of a seeing the light, but seeing a way through to going, okay, it's a bit clearer than I think I've been slightly banging my head against the wall with some of these more fundamental thought processes. So I'm actually looking forward to giving the time to it.
And that metaphor, the stone being removed, is that a strong metaphor for you? That idea that it's whether it's in your shoe or your pocket or in the driveway, is it strong enough? Or right there.
Yeah, that would be really nice if that could be shot. Yeah, I can see that metaphor.
Suze, thank you for working so hard. I really appreciate it, doing this on camera, but also the work you've done to get prepped up as well, and to really think about this. And I hope all this back values work goes really well, and we can happily talk about it again.
Yeah, no, it's great. That's I've gone away with 2 very, very strong action pointers towards further action. So that's great. Thanks, Charlie.
Real pleasure.
Great.